but know it's time for the show.
Bills Mafia, what's going on? Welcome to your Saturday night destination for Bills content. I am one of your hosts, Dave Myers, co-founder of Built in Buffalo. I, as always, joined by Akeem Richens, 𝐸𝐻, the other co-founder of Built in Buffalo. Akeem, it's fall, October 11th. There's no games tomorrow, so we can kind of sit back, relax, watch some of the rest of the AFC and some of the other divisional games and things like that. What's your weekend looking like so far, man? What you up to?
𝐸𝐻, Akeem Richens. If you don't know me, ladies and gentlemen, by now, please get to know me. Get to know us. We are Built in Buffalo. This is Billsology. I'm going to enjoy the Sunday. I'm going to be at work, but the game's going to be on our big screen and our fishbowl in at the workstation. So I'm going to be at work. I'm going to be watching some games, and I'll be spectating and getting ready and excited for Monday night. I love the fact that we on prime time so the world could see, but I hate waiting for the length that we have to wait for our favorite team to play. So
I don't know, man. How are you feeling? What's the taste in your mouth after the last primetime game? Because can I just put this out there? Can we burn those jerseys? What's your thoughts? They're nice, they're clean. I like them. It's a good look. But what's your thoughts on the jerseys? How did you think that those came across to the national viewing audience last week? What's your thoughts?
I definitely thought it was hard to see for the commentators calling the game and the jerseys downfield, being that they were where they were placed and where they had to commentate the game. I could see where it had some difficulty for them. Did I like the jerseys? I liked it okay. It wasn't my favorite. It wasn't something that in my opinion, had to be done. But at the same time, us as Bills fans, what we've wanted, we've been seeing teams throughout the course of off seasons presenting new jerseys, right? It was team after team for the last few years. And we was like, when is Buffalo going to get involved in this? And Buffalo, we finally got involved with it. And now we don't like the outcome, So, you damned if you do, you damned if you don't.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So let's keep that subject right there. And then, what is your favorite Bills uniform combination? Is it the all whites, the all reds, the all blues? My personal favorite is what they're gonna bring out here on Monday night. I love the throwback uniforms, and it's not even just the helmet. The logo's okay, like the Standing Buffalo's fine, but to me, I like the stripes on the jersey sleeves. I feel like it's a clean look. What's your favorite Bills combo?
I have to agree. I have to agree with that combination. The throwback uniforms that we're going to wear Monday night is a nice, clean look. I don't have any, doubts or any hiccups about how it looks compared to the alternate jerseys that we brought out last Monday night. I love these these old school Buffalo Bills look that we are going to present Monday night.
It's funny how we've been complaining for, like you just said, for like alternate jerseys and different helmet combos and stuff like that. And it seems like now we've gone back to back, and plus the Bills are throwing their red helmets in there this year. So it's going to be kind of cool to see some different looks on the Bills players. So before I get started, let's do some housekeeping. I want to shout out our sponsors, Monster Energy Drink, the official energy partner of Built in Buffalo, and Southern Tier, the official brew partner of Built in Buffalo. A couple things too, support us. The best way possible is to like this video wherever you're watching it, whatever platform you guys are tuning into. Please like this video. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe, hit the notification so you know when all of our videos and all of our shorts and everything go live. You're watching on Facebook, share it, comment. If you're watching on X, comment, share it. Biggest thing here is engagement. We love the engagement from the live audience, so please throw some comments in there. If it's stuff that's relevant to what's going on and what we're talking about, we'll throw it up on the screen. We have a packed show today. Obviously, we have an extra day to wait for the Bills to play, but we haven't been able to talk, Akeem and myself, to an audience about the Bills-Patriots game. So we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about Joshua Palmer. We're going to talk about Maxwell Hairston. We're going to talk about, If the Bills need to make a move, more deservingly so, we're going to talk about A.J. Brown because I think everybody knows how unhappy he seems to be in Philly. The Bills' injuries, Balin Spector, and then obviously we'll do, our due diligence on the Falcons preview, keys to the game, players to watch, and stuff like that. So, Akeem, I do think it's a good topic for us to kind of dig into. And I know that everybody's been talking about the Bills and Patriots game, and it's been kind of beat to death on social media with the content creators, but we haven't had a chance. So I kind of want to take some time to get your thoughts on I'm going to phrase the question like this. Okay. Was the Bills defense exposed by the Patriots? And what I mean by that is if you watch how the Patriots operated offensively in the second half, it seems like they had a lot of guys up front that were willing to chip Bills defenders and give Drake May just time. And we all know when you give an average to an above average quarterback time, you're not going to be able to cover. And what you and me have been talking about seemingly since March is the secondary, the safeties and the corners, and the Bills are depleted there, playing Tre'Davious White, things like that. So again, I ask you, was the Bills defense exposed by the Patriots on Sunday night?
No. I believe the Buffalo Bills defense was exposed the very first week that the Buffalo Bills played, and that was against the Baltimore Ravens, if I got to call a spade a spade. And, it's something that us as fans, we wonder, is this something that we can work through? Is this something that we can get better at throughout the course of the season and improve upon, right? And Oliver has missed the last 4 games. There's no Larry Ogunjobi. There is no Michael Hoyt. When we get these guys back, can we get to the level of great representation for the Buffalo Bills and what we want to see as a fan base, and from the coach who is a defensive minded guy? He's a defense first guy himself. So can we get back to a respectable levels where we can play enough resistance defense consistently to get the job done, even when our offense is not scoring 30 plus points per game? Because even though our offense do score 30 plus points per game every game, it is unfair for that to be the expectation of our offense to score 30 plus points per game every single game. And I understand we have our gripes about the offense and throwing the ball downfield and separation from the receivers, but at some point, the defensive guru has to show why he became the head coach in the first place. And if he's not showing that, there's questions that have to be raised beyond player expectation. We have to start looking at the coaching staff or the roster or how it's constructed as well. And I know you asked me a question. I went on a little rant there. I apologize.
It's all good.
I got a little passion because we're 4-1. Yes. And I love the record and I love the fact that we on top of the AFC, but we've been winning games, right? We've been winning games. Sean McDermott is 90-46 as a Buffalo Bills head coach. Yeah. Winning games is not the issue. Winning games is not the problem. It's winning the big game. Can we win the big game? And that's become the biggest of problems for the Buffalo Bills. So when I look at the problems now, despite of the 4-1 record, I'm not looking at the present. I'm looking at the future.
Yeah.
Despite the 4-1 record, we want to win a damn Super Bowl. And at this rate, with the defense playing the way they are, liabilities on the secondary with the safeties and the corners, questions at linebacker, questions at defensive back. Is the roster construction the problem? Or is player performance the problem? And that's what I look at despite the record in terms of hoisting a Lombardi trophy.
So what you're telling me is this defense isn't good enough to win a Super Bowl. Am I correct?
Right now, no, it's not. And the question is, right? And here's where it is. Is it the players? Do we need the players? Or is it the coaching? Because we're going to get the players back. So if the players, if it's a player problem, we should improve. But if it's a coaching problem, can there be improvements there? And that's where I wonder in question, because I feel it's a little bit of both, but it starts with coaching.
I agree with you. And you've been on this Bobby Babich thing for a while. And I've been the one that's been kind of trying to play Oh, it's going to be a learning process. We have all these guys and rookies and moving parts, and we brought in a blitz specialist, defensive line coach, and we have all this stuff, and McDermott will figure it out. You know what? And I'm going to go off on a tangent here too, because I've seen some stuff posted this week. It's just pictures of Leslie Frazier. Mm-hmm. Did we throw Leslie Frazier under the bus for no reason? Should we be taking back some of the criticisms that we had of Leslie Frazier? Now, I understand he also had Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer, and he helped those DBs and put them into the good positions to not get beat over the top. But this is now year 2 for Bobby Babich. And what's concerning to me is all the next gen stats that have come out about the Bills' pressure rate of the defensive line and the edge defenders. They're at the top. Why is it not turning into sacks? Do we have a defensive line full of Jerry Hughes? Because that was Jerry Hughes' thing, right? He's the almost get to the quarterback guy, leads the league or second in the league in pressures every year, but he just has 6 or 7 sacks. So to me, it's how do we, as a coaching staff, how do the Bills as a coaching staff, how do they harness that and turn that into negative plays for the defense? How do they turn all these pressures into something? Now, is it a deeper rooted issue? Is it the secondary just can't cover regardless? So if the quarterback is being pressured, he still knows he can get the ball out and it's going to get caught by somebody because they're not covered. They're running, like watching that play of Drake May running to the sideline and throwing that ball to Stephon Diggs is like ingrained in my brain, because that was Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs for so many years, right? And it's just, when is help coming? I think that's the better question we should be asking, because we don't know. And this can bleed right into the Maxwell Hairston conversation. Obviously, the window was not open for Maxwell Hairston this week. The 21-day window was not open. If you guys don't know that, now you do. I don't think he's the answer. He's green. He's a rookie. Mm-hmm. And we've seen Tre'Davious White, and I think we've seen the ceiling of this resurgence project that is Tre'Davious White back with the Bills. I think it was nice to have him as depth, but depth is great until you have to use it to start games and to play meaningful snaps against quarterbacks that are good like Drake May. So what's your overall thought on the whole fact that the Bills are getting pressures? They're getting the hurries. They're hitting the quarterback. I think Joey Bosa is 4th in the NFL in quarterback hurries and pressure rate. And it's not being converted. And a hell of a lot of that was against the Jets. Let's be honest. A hell of a lot of that 5-game lump of pressures was against the Jets. But other than that, I watched on that Stevenson touchdown, that 7-yard touchdown run in the second half. I watched Joey Bosa look like he was on the highway somewhere, and he was lost. He just didn't know where the play was going. And that's not the Joey Bosa that we need. We need the week 2 Joey Bosa to come through, because the other guys aren't helping. So I'll reel it back in. Is it concerning that we just can't get to the quarterback with all the investments that have been made? Ed Oliver will help. Michael Hoyt will help. Yes. But you're pressuring the quarterback at like a 46% clip, and it's not turning into anything. What's your thoughts?
And, and I love Ed Oliver. And you want to have an Ed Oliver on the field. You rather have him on the field than off the field, right? But at the end of the day, Ed Oliver was on the field against the Baltimore Ravens. No disrespect, I just got to call a spade a spade. He was on the field when the Baltimore Ravens scored 40 points, right? Baltimore Ravens scored 40 points that game.
It probably would have been 50 if he didn't make those plays.
It probably would have been 50 if he didn't make those plays. But to say that is to say this: Ed Oliver helps, but we need more. And where is that going to come from? And when we're talking about the pressure rate and the pass rush stats, I think that is, I don't want to call it bullshit, because the statistics is a statistic, and I do respect statistics at the end of the day.
It's bullshit.
It's perception versus reality.
Exactly.
Right? Because now you're trying to tell us now, despite what we are seeing, now you're supposed to tell us on this sheet that, hey, the Buffalo Bills, their pass rush pressure rate, they're amongst the best in the league. But when we are seeing the games we're looking at the Buffalo Bills consistently struggle to get to the quarterback in moments we need him or we need them to get to the quarterback most. It's those game-changing plays. It's those third down plays. It's those gotta have it plays where the Buffalo Bills do not have it. They may get there. Yeah. They may have those pressures where Daquan Jones gets to Drake May, and Drake May has an incredible stiff arm and makes a great play. Those type of plays happen to the Buffalo Bills defense more often than not. It's almost like those great plays are routine plays when they happen to be against the Buffalo Bills. And that is something that we have to try to eliminate and try to stop. And I'm not sure if that starts with coaching, being in the right place at the right time, or player execution, or the combination of both.
And you know what frustrates me the most is you talked about the stats, and you're 100% spot on with everything you just said. But what frustrates me the most is the stats and then the truthers that will come out and say, you're wrong. The defense is not bad. Look at the stats and look at this. And if it wasn't for the defense in the first half, that game would have gotten away from the Bills because of the turnovers and this and that. That's fine. I agree with you there. But two things can also be true. The Bills defense kept them in the game in the first half, but when the Bills defense needed a stop in that second half, they could not get it. If you stop Drake May, they're attempting a 61-yard field goal, and Josh Allen has like 45 seconds or something like that to get the ball and to go get a field goal. Instead, Josh Allen has 16 seconds to get a field goal and no timeouts. Like if your defense makes a play when it counts, all the other statistics are fine. But when you look at all the next gen shit, and you look at Joey Bosa, fourth in the NFL in quarterback pressure rate, and you look at all this stuff coming from Ed Oliver, and Greg Rousseau is great against the run and all this stuff. What does it mean when you need it in the fourth quarter and you got to get that offense off the field? It means absolutely jack shit. And that's why I've been frustrated all week. And shout out to Greg Tomsett from Cover One, because we had a little bit of a conversation today. We were talking about if only Drake May was stopped on this, and then it went down this rabbit hole of what if. And I feel like this defense, that's the encompassing thought of this defense is what if? What if Greg Rousseau actually decides to make plays? What if Joey Bosa can play the way he played against the Jets somewhat consistently? What if Terrell Bernard can figure out how to take the right gaps to stop run plays? What if Taylor Rapp can take the right angles on pass plays? It's a whole bunch of what ifs. And like you said,
but the Buffalo Bills, the organization paid these what ifs, right?
That's what I'm saying.
Gregory Rousseau, Terrell Bernard, we paid these what ifs. We paid these in these or what if situations. We paid these players to execute and make these plays in these what if situations and what if moments. We expect the players that we paid to show up. And now its question is okay, is it roster construction? Are these players, are these just a bunch of average players getting paid above average money? And this is why the Buffalo Bills have some flaws on the D-line and linebacker and cornerback and safety, where they don't have any money, but they have average players. Why are we having all these issues and topics of discussions where there are weaknesses on the Buffalo Bills defense in rosters where we don't have any cap flexibility? Beyond that point, we have to start looking beyond the players, right? We have to start looking beyond the players. And I'm not trying to be a negative Nancy here, because I know a lot of people say, hey, Rich, the Buffalo Bills are 4-1. I get that. I'm trying to produce, or would love to see, a team that's produced to hoist the Lombardi trophy. And the frustrating thing is that I'm concerned that we're going to have roadblocks along the way because of the struggles that we do have. And Josh Allen's he's 29. He's going to be 30 next season. We're not getting any younger here.
Right. If you go back and you just look at that game from Sunday night, the Bills' identity seemed to be lost on offense. Would you agree with that? I feel like they got away from a lot of what they did last year, what they did the first 4 weeks this year, minus the Ravens game, because that offense in the fourth quarter was just, they had to do that. but it was control the clock, run the ball, control the line of scrimmage. Josh makes high percentage passes, and the Bills score 30 points. To me, why? And I'm not going to knock the offense, because the offense has won all 4 games that they've won. But why are we running a flea flicker reverse with Dawson Knox? Why are we telling Josh that it's okay to throw the ball down the field to Keon Coleman several times contested? We understand that that's what Keon does. And you and me have harped on that's what Keon is, right? He's a throw it up 50-50 ball guy. But it seemed like it was just kind of, they went to the well way too many times. And I feel like Josh forced that pass. Now, it was a hell of a play by, I believe it was a safety that caught that interception. But I feel like we can bitch about the defense on one end, but the offense didn't do us any favors, and it was just a weird game. But my thing is, the Bills have beat, which is now turned into, yes, the Ravens were full strength. The Bills beat now a bad Ravens team. The Bills beat a bad Jets team, a bad Dolphins team, a bad Saints team. And when they played a team, like you said last week live on this show, you were concerned because they were not a bad team. They played a team that punched them in the mouth and told them, you can't beat us. We're gonna do what we need to do to beat you. So going forward, is this a concern? Was this game a concern if the offense isn't 100% how it looked the first 4 weeks with just James Cook and Josh Allen and everybody eats and this stuff? The Bills had dumb penalties. I feel like they were shooting themselves in the foot all game. They had fumbles. They had 3 turnovers. I know that's not going to happen every week, but did that game offensively concern you going forward?
It does give some causes for concerns, because that game, in my opinion, the way it was called, Joe Brady, he comes on after every victory. He comes on social media on X, and he's like 1-0. Right. Every week, the Buffalo Bills, he's 1-0. So when I think about that, I'm like, okay, Joe Brady, you have social media, you have an algorithm, so you're going to you're possibly paying attention to what's going on and what the naysayers are saying about the Buffalo Bills and the Buffalo Bills offense having some predictability to their game. So let's not confuse being cute with being predictable. Let's not get confused running uncomfortable plays because you feel, or because the naysayers may have caught on to the fact that the Buffalo Bills may be predictable at times. And even Chris Collinsworth, and he's not the greatest of commentators, I would say nicely, but he was able to distinguish and break down rather easily whether the Buffalo Bills are setting up for a run or setting up for the pass. If the Buffalo Bills are under center, 70% of the time they're going to run the ball. If the Buffalo Bills are in shotgun, 70% of the time they're going to pass the ball. Let's not get cute trying to be unpredictable. At the end of the day, let's do what the Buffalo Bills do best offensively. Let's run the ball. Let's get the ball to James Cook. In my opinion, he was out the game a little bit too much. I remember what's going on in the now. I understand last season was last season and last season's prior was last season's prior. But this season, the Buffalo Bills and James Cook, he has been a main proponent to the Buffalo Bills' success. His snaps are on an uptick for the Buffalo Bills offense, and it has been working. So why deviate from that, right? Continue to run the ball, show the identity. I'm not seeing enough of the play action. The Buffalo Bills are having enough success throughout the course of this season thus far to follow that up with play action. And I think the Buffalo Bills are even more dangerous offensively when they conduct the two and they merge the two together. So the Buffalo Bills, in my opinion, they have to get back to running the football because that's the identity, and then working the pass plays throughout the success of the run. And if the Buffalo Bills can get back to that, I think we can start having success in terms of having some consistency and flow within the offense. Because right now, last week, everything looks scattered. A play here, and we got a play there. In the past, the Buffalo Bills, their offense, it told a story. It told no stories last week on primetime.
Yeah, and I do think that the turnovers kind of put them in a bad spot. You had that fumble that, I don't know, that end around to Dawson Knox. That's probably not the guy you want to do an end around. You have Curtis Samuel, who was active. That's the guy you want to give that to. But you talk about the Bills telling a story on offense. So let's talk about Joshua Palmer for a minute, because it's a perfect segue. Are you at all concerned with, and it's 5 games, but my thing is there's 30 games, roughly 30 games of tape on Joe Brady. And with that last game, it felt very uncharacteristic of Joe Brady. Do you know what I'm saying? Like it just felt, take the turnovers away from it. It just felt like it, like you said, it was very unbalanced. And Joshua Palmer, 2 receptions, right? He's getting paid a lot of money. We could say the same thing about Curtis Samuel. And you talked last week, the Bills don't care how much money players are making as long as they're producing, right? So Joshua Palmer was brought in because we were told that he was an analytics like wet dream, because he gets separation, gets open. What's your thoughts on how he's been utilized? It's still early. There's time to get things going. What's your thoughts on how he's been utilized in this Bills offense so far this season after 5 weeks?
It's now when you think about Josh Palmer and you just think about the team and you just think about the on-field play, it's everybody eats, right? That's the culture that the Buffalo Bills have implemented. It might be one week where Josh Palmer may go off, whether that was week 1, and there might be another week where it's Keon Coleman, or it might be another week where it's 𝐾𝐨𝐴. So it's the everybody eats mantra. But when you think about the financial aspect of it, and when you bring that into play, and you think about 3 years, $12 million, $36 million over the course of 3 years, you want more production out of the receiver you just paid, in my opinion, has a pretty lucrative amount of money too. So based on the financials, Josh Palmer has to do more. Josh Palmer absolutely has to do more. Now, whether that's up to him, or is that the coaching, is that the scheme, is that the route tree that he's being asked to run, we don't know. But I'm going to go ahead and say Josh Palmer, the player, has to do more. Why I'm going to put more on him per se, and not necessarily Joe Brady, because he's playing exactly how he's been playing over the course of his career.
Exactly.
He's been underwhelming like that with Justin Herbert, and everybody talks and lauds Justin Herbert as one of the best quarterbacks in this NFL. So if you had one of the best NFL quarterbacks in the NFL to start your career, and your best season was over a little bit over 500 yards, and now you come over to the Buffalo Bills, and now you have MVP Josh Allen, and you're producing at the same rate, at some point, as much as I love to talk about coaching and it's up to the coaches to put the players in the proper positions to make plays, you have to look at players and them executing as well. And I think right now, Joshua Palmer, the player, is not productive enough in the Buffalo Bills uniform, especially the amount of money he garners.
So through 5 games, this is Joshua Palmer's stat lines. Versus Baltimore, 5 receptions, but Josh they had to pass all 4th quarter, so he got targets. Versus the Jets, 2 receptions. Versus the Dolphins, 1 reception for 5 yards. Versus the Saints, 2 receptions, 25 yards. Versus the Patriots, 2 receptions for 36 yards. He's got 12 receptions in 5 games. So is that worth what the Bills spent to get him? Now, let me ask you this. Is it the player or is it the scheme? Because if he's not asked to run the routes that would be successful for him as a separator, and the Bills are deciding to use him differently, is that the player, or is that Joe Brady's fault? You know what I'm saying? Is it Josh Allen's fault for not maybe looking at him more and trying to target him more? I mean, I think it's a wide variety of stuff we can speculate on here before we just call out the player for not producing. But if he's coming to an offense where 6 or 7 guys are getting 3 or 4 targets, he's not going to have those big games. He's just not. Unless he has a couple big targets downfield, it's not going to seem like he's producing. I mean, he's averaging 14 yards a reception. That's not great, but that's Gabe Davis numbers. That's what Gabe Davis would do if he was on the Bills. So
Now,
why did we pay him $12 million or $10 to $12 million a year to do that when we have Curtis Samuel, we have 𝐾𝐨𝐽, and we have Keon Coleman and Dalton Kincaid and things like that, and we didn't go get an alpha? You know what I mean? Which we'll talk about here in a minute. So what's your thoughts on that? Is it the player? Is it the scheme? Like, what is it?
It's what was the expectation of the Bills when they signed Joshua Palmer? I know we have expectations as fans because we're going to merge money and productivity, and does the two make sense in terms of the overall acquisition? And thus far, it doesn't look as if it makes sense for the Buffalo Bills, being that they spent the amount of money they spent. They could have got this type of production from a lot less inexpensive player. But when I look at other aspects, right, when Joe Brady first was first named the offensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bills, Stephon Diggs was on the team, right? And Stephon Diggs, he was on a trajectory, despite the Bills' struggles, to have another career year in those first 8 to 10 games. I believe Ken Dorsey was still in the fold. But when Joe Brady took over as offensive coordinator, Stephon Diggs struggled to amass 40, 50 yards in a game for about 10 straight games. And we was looking like, hold on, what's going on with Stephon Diggs? Did he lose a step? Is he not the same player? But guess what? Coming back from an ACL, and I think he did a hell of a job coming back from an ACL, by the way. We're talking about a guy. I seen guys come back from ACL injuries, but those guys was a little superhuman to their game. Adrian Peterson, he came back and was a dominant force after his ACL, but he has some superhuman ability to his game, and he's a big force in nature. But a guy like Stephon Diggs to come back from an ACL injury and to perform the way he did, as if he never tore his ACL to begin with, leads me to believe, like, okay, is it play design the problem? Because Stephon Diggs left Buffalo and he doesn't have a problem getting open. Ultimately, we want to win the game, right? And the Buffalo Bills have been successful despite the lack or the missing presence of a number one receiver like Stephon Diggs. But in those clutch situations, in those gotta have it situations where you need a play to be made, you would want that receiver, that number one receiver, to be relied upon to make that play. And I don't know if the Buffalo Bills have that player, but I'm not sure if it's because of the mental makeup of the coaching staff and the mantra in the everybody eats culture that they wanna implement. And if everybody want to eat, do you want a number one receiver in the first place? Right. So a lot of questions.
I mean, if you look at the Bills top receptions, all right, 𝐾𝐨𝐿, I think that's a given. We all knew that was going to happen with 22. Keon Coleman's got 21, Dalton Kincaid's got 20, and then you got Palmer and Cook both have 12. So if he was going to be the fourth option on this offense, based off of what I just told you, because 𝐾𝐨𝐿, a lot of people will say he's wide receiver one just based off of what he is for this offense. Then you have Dalton Kincaid, who's having a hell of a season. And then you have the guy that everybody wants to get the ball to because we want that second-round draft pick to pay off, is Keon Coleman. So has Joshua Palmer become an afterthought in this offense? Paying him what they're paying him? It's just it's crazy to me. And then you still have Curtis Samuel and Elijah Moore that you still are trying to get jerseys to on Sunday. And they tried to target Curtis Samuel on Sunday night. He had a touchdown reception, and they didn't give a jersey to Elijah Moore. So I don't know. It's going to be really interesting to see if this is going to be the trajectory of how this offense plays out. Like, why did we pay this guy all this money when we could have just gotten somebody else that can get 3 targets a game? You know what I'm saying? Or we have Elijah Moore. We could give him 3 targets a game. It's frustrating because I like the player. And if you look at all of the analytical stuff, like, he's a guy that gets open. This year, he's doing the same thing. He's winning routes. It is what he does. But to me, I don't know if the Bills just don't have that downfield threat. They don't want Josh to force the ball downfield. I don't know what it is. It's just it's confusing to me because I want the guy to be successful. He's on our team. Like I want him to be successful and earn that contract and win games. But I don't know. It's going to be something to watch, and that ties right into the next conversation. And I think we all watched that game Thursday, the Eagles game on Thursday, lose to the Giants, and kind of feel for AJ Brown because when he was targeted, he made plays. And that's the thing, right? The targets. He's not getting targeted. So, what's your thoughts on AJ Brown? Obviously, he's put some stuff out on social media about just keeping his head down and just he's not going to make a scene and do all this stuff. His body language will speak for itself and things like that. It's a hot topic right now. I've seen a lot of outlets talking about it. Would be a dream scenario for the Bills to trade for AJ Brown. I know his contract is huge. It wouldn't fit in. The Bills would have to move a lot of stuff around. But what's your thoughts on AJ Brown and the Bills potentially trying to make a trade for him?
If you can do it, make it. Let's get it done.
Yeah.
I think number one, that's a true alpha number one receiver. I think he's a true difference maker. I think difference makers are needed to hoist Lombardi trophies. I think they would eliminate the discussion of who's at fault. Is it player and coaching design, or is it coaching design and schematics, or is it player and wide receiver separation? Having an alpha number one wide receiver, it will let us know exactly what the problem is. Okay, we don't have enough receivers. We don't have enough receiver talent to get the job done. Okay, we got AJ Brown. We're still not getting him the ball. Joe Brady has issues getting the guy the ball at the necessary time. So I think having a true number one receiver would eliminate question marks and discussions that we are discussing today. But overall, because of his alpha mentality and because of his ability and talent, I would love an AJ Brown to the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen, I think at times 𝐾𝐿 Coleman, he fumbled in that game, right? What did Josh Allen kind of do? I don't know if you saw it, but I seen Josh Allen. Okay, the kid fumbled. He's back in the game. Let's get this kid back in the game. Let me get the ball to 𝐾𝐿 Coleman. I would love for that be AJ Brown on the opposite side to get the ball from Josh Allen. You know what? We got AJ Brown. Let's work AJ Brown. Let's work them back shoulder throws. Let's work them 50-50 passes because AJ Brown is a different type of player than Stephon Diggs. He's more of the type of player that 𝐾𝐿 Coleman is, right? And I think he's a way better version of that. So I think that would be a pretty damn good combination for Josh Allen to be linked up with AJ Brown. So I don't give a damn about the cap in terms of how we can make it work, and we don't have any money now.
Right.
So let's see if we can make this work and get some alphas on this team and change the culture a little bit. So yeah, I would love AJ Brown.
Yeah, you talked about, I agree with you 100%. Like if you guys follow me on Twitter, I posted a video that catch that he made, that over the shoulder catch that was contested along the sideline against the Giants was ridiculous. But you talk about Stephon Diggs, and I don't want to harp on this for too long, but you talked about Stephon Diggs, and everybody wants to talk about how he disappeared in the playoffs. That's because when you play in the playoffs, you play against top defenses in the playoffs. So they're going to game plan, and they have smart coordinators that are going to take him out of the game. Not saying that's 100%. I'm not using excuses for him, but he did seem to kind of disappear. But I will say that Gabe Davis owes Stephon Diggs a huge thank you for that massive contract he got in Jacksonville. Because of all the warranted coverage that went to Diggs, I feel like Gabe Davis was left with the second or third best option in the defensive backfield when he was running routes. Emmanuel Sanders, same thing. And to me, I feel like if you can get a guy that can take the top off of defense, not only do you have that for the guy who has a rocket launcher for an arm, but you also, it helps everybody else on your skill position players, because it warrants the defense needs to make sure they're paying attention to where AJ Brown is at all times. On top of all of that, AJ Brown to me is a guy that the Bills could use in the postseason. Like we've seen it time and time again that we just don't have a guy, especially this past postseason. We didn't have that guy when Josh needed someone on a drive or to make a play late in the game. There just wasn't anybody there. Nobody was getting open. And it just seems like that's what the Bills, that's like might be the missing piece to the success of this Bills team. I don't know. I'm not saying the Bills are going to trade for AJ Brown. I'm not saying that, they're dumb if they don't. But to me, and I think I can speak for Akeem, somebody, AJ Brown or similar, there should be something that should be being talked about right now, because it's no coincidence that Josh Allen sat at the podium and said, we understand the frustrations that we're not throwing the ball downfield. We are winning football games, but the very next game they lost and nobody could get open downfield. Mm-hmm. And at some point, that's going to become an issue. It became an issue week 4 and week 5 last year when they couldn't get any separation and the defense was just teeing off on mm-hmm. Josh Allen. He's already been sacked 8 times this year. He was sacked 14 all of last year. Mm-hmm. So again, I'm not going to harp on the downfield stuff because the Bills are 4-1. They've scored 30 points 4 of the 5 games, but mm-hmm. it is what it is. Mm-hmm. You had some more thoughts on AJ Brown before we move on?
Nah, I just think that, that's definitely another topic of discussion in terms of the AJ Brown saga with the Philadelphia Eagles that we'll have to continue to monitor throughout the course of the season. I would hate for him to go to New England Patriots, right? I would hate for the Patriots to say, you know what, Mike Vrabel, I know AJ Brown, right?
Yeah, and they have all the money. They have all the money.
They have all the money and flexibility to do it. So I would hate to see that happen. I would love for AJ Brown or alpha, in my opinion, just an alpha, a game-changing threat for the Buffalo Bills roster, because I think the Buffalo Bills, I don't think they have enough of those guys. I don't think they have a bunch of or enough game-changing guys. I just see, if I got to call a spade, a bunch of average players on this Buffalo Bills roster, and the only above average players I see thus far is obviously Josh Allen and James Cook and Deion Dawkins. But what about the defense? Where are the dogs on defense? I know we talk about AJ Brown. Let's flip the script a little bit. I don't know where you wanted to go. I want to ask you some questions.
We'll go wherever you want to go. I
wanted to ask you questions about the defense. You spoke about Groot and the amount of money he's getting paid this season. We're talking about the Buffalo Bills and Brandon Beane in the draft. Thus far, Maxwell Harrison hasn't played this season. TJ Sanders, the Bills moved up for TJ Sanders. He's on IR. When he was healthy, I haven't seen much from him. The 3rd-round pick, Landon Jackson, hasn't done anything. How much can the Buffalo Bills do in terms of making a leap of progression where the building blocks we need to make that leap in progression can't even get on the football field?
Oh, where do I start with that? You mentioned.
I apologize.
You're good. It's just, like I have so many thoughts. Like everybody knows how, and you especially know how I feel about Greg Rousseau. It was nice to see him get a sack on Sunday night, but to me, I've seen a ton of comments in the chat about Brandon Beane's drafting history. Cool. He's got some winners. There's been a lot of good players that he's selected, Spencer Brown, Josh Allen, obviously, and some others that are starting and stalwarts on this team. Mm-hmm. But let's talk about the past couple years. What have we got? Mm-hmm. I mean, Dalton Kincaid, okay, fine. He's going to come around. Mm-hmm. But I said this 2 weeks ago. Do the Bills have those guys that, quote unquote, are just assholes, that have egos, that back it up, like you said? And I understand we reset the timetable on age for the team with all these draft picks and things like that, but I've seen nothing from TJ Sanders. Landon Jackson played Sunday, I think he played Sunday, a few snaps, his first game of the season. Cole Bishop, I feel like he's finally turning some things. He's turning it around. He's been probably the most consistent DB, and that includes Christian Benford, because I haven't seen a ton from Christian Benford, who we also just paid a ton of money to. So I guess to answer your question, do the Bills have a bunch of average players? I think we knew that in March. We knew that after the draft. And I feel like the Bills rely too heavily sometimes on, it's the fourth quarter, it's a close game, Josh will do something. Josh is going to do something. And this past week, it didn't happen. And I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and think the Patriots are a better team than the Bills, because they're not. They just made less mistakes. They knew how they could win, and they went out and executed. And the Bills did not. The Bills didn't execute against the Saints. I thought the Bills could have lost to the Dolphins. The Bills should have lost to the Ravens. If it wasn't for God mode Josh Allen, that game should have been over. So I don't even know if I'm answering your question.
You're fine. You're fine though.
I look at this team and it's like 6 in one half and half a dozen in the other, because they are a 4-1 team. And I feel like they could beat the Colts. I feel like they could beat the Jaguars. And I feel like they're top tier in the AFC. But then I look at what just happened, and how do I know that 3 or 4 games from now, the Bills aren't going to pull this shit again when Joe Brady just has a complete mental meltdown of what he wants to call offensively. Defense can't cover anybody, and you're playing a quarterback that's not below average, and you're not playing a shitty team. Do we lose another game and lose seeding in the AFC? Do we lose another game that we should win? On Monday, the Bills should destroy the Falcons. But how confident are you today that the Bills will go in Monday night and execute to their fullest capabilities and not have a bunch of oh shit moments? Because it just doesn't seem like there's guys that step up. We can't afford for Josh Allen to be average. We can't. We can't afford to have him be just an average game manager, because no one else is going to make a play. No one on defense is going to make a play. Nobody on offense is going to make a play. Maybe James Cook, maybe. And it's just that's and I understand there's people probably that are thinking I'm crazy because the team's 4-1. And like you said, the Bills have won 90 games under Sean McDermott. And this shit always happens in week 4 or week 5. The Bills lose a game they shouldn't lose. And all this stuff seems to happen. And we think the sky is falling, but we go outside and the sky's still there. So I don't.
And that's my problem, though. But that right there is my issue. If I do have an issue with the Buffalo Bills, that is my issue, because we're going through the same routine every year. Yep. And we're not getting over the hump, and we're continuing the same routine as we're getting over humps. This is why, again, realistically, would it be able to happen? Probably not. But this is why I wanted a Micah Parsons. This is why I would entertain an AJ Brown or a Trey Hendrickson, because at some point your philosophy is not working. We're winning games. Yes, that part is working, but we stayed in that realm for some time, and now we have to elevate to the next level. And what are we going to do to elevate to that level? The bargain bin philosophy is not working for the Buffalo Bills, where you go ahead and, again, we haven't seen these players, but I'm going to use these players as an example, where you go ahead and get a Ogunjobi, and you pay a Michael Hoyt, and you pay a Joey Bosa, and then you go ahead and pay a Palmer. You spent a lot of money going in the bargain bin. At some point, I would like to spend that money, get a player or two, and get some real bona fide game changers, right? At some point, we have to change the philosophy and say, you know what, this isn't working. What else can we do to elevate our game? And sometimes we have to go outside the box and go outside of our structure and deviate from that to go where we need to go. And I just see a lot of stubbornness in terms of how the Buffalo Bills attack the off season, going into the season year in and year out, because we having the same conversations year in and year out, and it's deja vu year in and year out for the Bills.
So let me ask you this question. And we're going to keep this going, because I'm just going to take the notes, and just because I like this conversation a lot more. Barring the Stephon Diggs trade and drafting Josh Allen, what's the best move that Brandon Beane has made? Let's take the draft out of it. Let's just talk about player movement, whether it's trade or free agency, because Von Miller, it's going to stick in everybody's head that contract was terrible because of how the injuries and how that happened. But we also signed a 30+ defensive end / linebacker, outside linebacker, to at that massive deal. So when players get older, like you like to say in a combative sport, They're more susceptible to injuries. Look at Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer. Were great for the first 5 years. Then all of a sudden they were getting older and all those injuries started piling up. Right. So barring the Stephon Diggs trade, which was a massive trade, it helped the development of Josh Allen. Brian Daboll's offense was fantastic. And he had 4 really good seasons with the Bills. Who else has there been free agency or trade wise that you could say that guy was a difference maker? Brandon Beane knocked it out of the park with that one.
Now I have to get a lot of different components to make it one proponent to Beane's advantage. And I say that as to say this. The best thing Brandon Beane has done, besides obviously Josh Allen drafting and the Stephon Diggs move, was fortifying the offensive line.
Okay.
We see what's going on with Joe Burrow right now, right? He's hurt more often than not. We've seen what happened to Andrew Luck, one of the better quarterbacks, possibly one of the best quarterbacks that could have ever played this game. And he retired early because the Indianapolis Colts failed to protect their franchise quarterback. Brandon Beane has done a tremendous job finding a center or early on in Mitch Morse, right? He had Deion Dawkins fortifying the other side in right tackle in Spencer Brown, getting Osiris Torrance after Mitch Morse was done because of cap issues and the lack of flexibility, getting a Connor McGovern to come over to the Buffalo Bills. So besides Stephon Diggs, besides Josh Allen, I think Brandon Beane has did an excellent job with the offensive line and protecting his franchise quarterback. He's done a tremendous job with that.
Okay. What about
besides that, everything else now is up in the air. His player acquisition is up in the air. His drafting is up in the air. And I think it's a pass, and it's getting a pass because the Buffalo Bills are winning. But I say that as in terms of you drafted Josh Allen.
That's why he gets the pass.
And you have a capable team.
That's why he gets the pass.
How bad, realistically now, how bad is a team going to be when you have a Josh Allen in his prime, right? Now, in my opinion, I'm looking at Brandon Beane in the situation with Brandon Beane now as into having an average team. You know those teams that are average, that's 8-8, they're not good enough
to drought Bills.
They're not good enough to go to that next level, but they're not bad enough to be bad and to go to that next level because they're 8-8, right? So they can't draft in the top 10. That's where I think about the Bills now. The Buffalo Bills are going to be a good team once you have Josh Allen on it. Once you have a solid foundation, the players that they do have are not shitty players. They're just not game-changer players. The Buffalo Bills are built with a bunch of average players with an above-average running back, an above-average line, and a superstar quarterback. So when you have those things, when you have those proponents, how bad can you possibly be, right? So now the Buffalo Bills are not like them shitty franchises that are forced to pick that number one player because they're shitty. The Buffalo Bills are in a state where they have to go ahead and be proactive and make the move. The move is not going to come to them. They're not going to pick number one, right? They have to be proactive. So when a guy like Trey Hendrickson is involved and you can make that move, you have to be proactive and go and get that deal. When a guy like A.J. Brown is probably involved, you have to be proactive and try to make that deal because we've seen it this way for a number of years. And it hasn't worked. And at this point, are we afraid of giving up draft picks? Are we really afraid to give up draft picks based on how we've been drafted?
I'm glad you brought that up because you look at the Micah Parsons trade and what Green Bay gave up there. I tweeted it the second that Adam Schefter put out what the compensation was for Micah Parsons. I said there was no way in hell that Brandon Beane was giving that up. No way, shape, or form. Because I guarantee you Ed Oliver was not part of that conversation. It was the draft capital. Because he is stubborn about giving away future draft capital. But here's the thing. Shocker. The drafting has not been great the past couple years. And when you're in a situation, when you're flipping this roster over because you have no money and you need to get younger like you did this year, you better hit on a lot of those draft picks. You better hit on a TJ Sanders and a Landon Jackson and a Maxwell Hairston and a Cole Bishop and a Keon Coleman. But guess what? The jury's out on all of them. I'm sure it's too early to talk about this past draft, but Dalton Kincaid, last year, the jury was out on him. What about all of the other draft picks? You going to get saved by a 6th-round pick in Christian Benford because you made that pick? Okay, cool. What about everything else? That's where I'm frustrated. He will always use the excuse that he's got to pay Josh Allen the top-tier quarterback money. Okay, fine. The Green Bay Packers are paying a shit ton of money to their quarterback, and they just went out and got Micah Parsons, arguably one of the top 3 best defensive players in the NFL. They made it work. Oh, yeah, by the way, they just drafted a wide receiver in the 1st round, and they're paying him peanuts the next 4 years or 5 years. So that's where I get frustrated is I look at the players that are on defense, and I gave him a pass saying, okay, Hoyt's suspended, Ogunjobi's suspended. We have all these new guys. It's going to take a while. Who knows about Joey Bosa, if he's going to even be able to play the whole year, right? So here we are after 5 weeks, and it looks worse than last year. And the injuries are still piling up, and we have the trade deadline's coming in November, but we have no end in sight. Where's the light at the end of the tunnel to tell me that things look better? I haven't seen one game, minus the Jets game, but that is a historically bad offensive team that anybody with half a brain should have put together a scheme to beat that Jets offense. So here we are. The Bills still can't stop the run. They can't stack the quarterback, and they can't cover anybody. So it's the same thing that we had last year. They couldn't stop the run. They couldn't get to the quarterback, and they couldn't cover anybody. So how has anything changed? And I understand people are going to bitch at me for saying, why are you complaining? They're 4-1. Why are you complaining? And that's why I started this show by asking you if the Bills got exposed against an average to above average Patriots team, because I feel like Drake May understood the assignment. They can't cover my receivers for 4, 5, 6, 7 seconds. And I understand that can be said about any team. You can't cover wide receivers for 4, 5, 6, 7 seconds. But they knew what to do to the Bills' front 4 to make it so that was the Tre'Davious White covering Stephon Diggs was a train wreck. I don't ever want to see that again. I'm sorry. He looked lost. Christian Benford could not cover in that game. So I don't know. I know we went way off track.
No, and that's fine, but that's the beauty of it. When you get passionate about conversations, you want to indulge in it. So that was good.
So you know who the Patriots play the next 3 games, if I remember this correctly. I believe they play the Titans, the Saints, and the Browns. We better not lose a game, because if we do, if the Bills lose a game, they are in second place in the AFC East. Because if the Patriots play the way they did against the Bills, they're going to beat those 3 teams, because those are 3 bad teams. So I don't know. Like, the Bills had everything going for them. That's why I said before last week, and you said it wasn't a must-win game, but now I feel like they need to start just stacking wins, and it starts on Monday night. So I guess we could talk about the Bills' injuries a little bit, because we kind of touched on that. But I know that was a huge discussion, and we probably lost a lot of people in the live chat because we kind of went way off kilter there. But that's what we do. Like, we're too passionate.
That was good stuff, though.
That was a real conversation, and that's what I like to have. So, and that kind of bleeds into what I was looking at on my paper when we started talking about this. Is like, they re-signed Balin Spector to the practice squad after, I think, the majority of the fan base was done with Balin Spector. Like, I felt like he was released. The thing to me is 31 other teams had, a month and a half to sign him, and he's just hanging out, and the Bills go back to the well and sign Balin Spector. Things like that, where we're obviously having issues with Matt Milano in our linebacking core. The best linebacker on the Bills is a guy who's injury prone in Shaq Thompson. He's the best linebacker that's been playing for the Bills. So You want to touch on Balen Spector at all and like what this means? He's probably not going to get a ton of playing time, but if these injuries keep racking up, these injuries keep going the way they're going, you never know. And like,
I think it's the Buffalo Bills just, being familiar with the system and, remaining status quo. Balen Spector, we hope not to see, but you never know the way things are going. Jordan Poyer, DeMar Hamlin is going to be out on injured reserve. Is this Jordan Poyer's time? Is he ready to suit up and hit the football field for the Buffalo Bills again? And because he's probably going to be needed for this Bills secondary more often than not now that DeMar Hamlin is hurt. So I think it's going to be a very interesting next couple of weeks to see how the Buffalo Bills piece these injuries together.
All right, so Ed Oliver's playing. He was taken, so he was taken off he's on the injury report, but he practiced full yesterday. So he's playing. So that's a good sign. We talked briefly about TJ Sanders. He is on the IR. DeMar Hamlin is on the IR with the pectoral issue. Dalton Kincaid is questionable, which is not good because I feel like he's having a really good season. Last game, he was one of the bright spots on offense last game. Curtis Samuel, big shocker. Curtis Samuel's questionable for Sunday or for Monday night. So we'll probably see Elijah Moore. Matt Milano is out. Dion Dawkins and Taylor Rapp are good to go. They practice. So you brought up a good point. Talk about Jordan Poyer. Is this where we might see some Jordan Hancock? Possibly.
That as well. And correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't the Buffalo Bills change their strength and positioning coaches and change the training staff because of similar reasons like this?
That's exactly why they did it.
and yet again, the Buffalo Bills are doing this. But as far as Jordan Hancock, I absolutely believe that this could be a prime opportunity for him. And luckily for us, Brandon Beane does exceptionally well, in my opinion, is late round drafting. And I'm hoping that Jordan Hancock can be another late round steal for the Buffalo Bills. Dorian Strong is a late round pick who was performing well before he had his injury. I think Jackson Hawes was performing well at the tight end position, or is performing well at the tight end position for the Buffalo Bills. I think he's an incredible blocker. He might be the best blocking tight end in the league right now. Deion Walker has been a pleasant surprise for the Buffalo Bills as the 4th round pick. He's probably been the best defensive tackle, not only as a rookie, but on the damn team, right? Not including Ed Oliver's first game against the Baltimore Ravens. So one thing Brandon Beane does well is draft late round picks. I just think he do struggle on them early round picks and fulfilling that void for the Buffalo Bills. And I think that's where the unbalance lies for the Bills, where they draft late round players well, but even though you draft them well, they don't have a high ceiling. And those potential high ceilings where you want to draft well in the early rounds, Brandon Beane sometimes struggles with. So we'll see what happens with this draft.
Shane Dolak sitting there, but the Bills took a wide receiver that they released in the 7th round. When you have an injury-prone Matt Milano, and it seems like Bernard gets dinged up quite a bit as well. So I don't want to go back to that well of the draft. I don't. I do want to talk about Cole Bishop though, because I watched the All-22 from the Patriots game. Painfully watched the All-22 because I knew the result of the game. But Cole Bishop is getting better, and I'm cautiously optimistic that he's starting to turn into the player that they thought they drafted when they drafted him. What's your thoughts on Cole Bishop? Now, obviously that nice interception that he had against the Saints, I feel like they're using him more to his skill set, which is kind of be like a seek and destroy type of guy. So what's your thoughts on Cole Bishop so far? And then we'll kind of get into, a little bit more of the Falcons preview.
I think he's slowly progressing. And I think part of that slow progression is the fact that he's available. The availability to stay on the field and to get that that recognition that you need necessary to play the safety position, to get the understanding of what the offense is trying to do, to get the understanding of angles and how to pursue and how to take 50-50 balls in the air. And I think a lot of that in communicating with the defense, I think a lot of that is availability and being on the field. And if he's doing so, like he's been doing the last several weeks, we're seeing an uptick in his game, and he has all the athletic ability to well. He's over 6 foot. He has a nice vert. He's a 4'4" guy. He's an athletic specimen. So for him to be playing like the best safety on the Buffalo Bills roster thus far is something that we all should expect coming from him as a second-round pick, possessing the athletic ability that he does. So what we've seen thus far from Cole Bishop is a pleasant surprise, and we want that to become the norm for the Buffalo Bills and Cole Bishop. But the main proponent to that is staying healthy.
I agree with you 100%. So, all right, let's get into some previews, predictions, things like that. So, keys to the game. Let's start with the Bills offense. We saw what happened on Sunday. First time in 26 games that the Bills lost the turnover battle. We had a Josh Allen fumble to, if you want to blame that on Dawson Knox, I don't know who you give that to, Keon Coleman, and then Josh had the interception. What's your thoughts on maybe how you think the Bills are going to approach this game offensively? I don't think that the Falcons defensively are one of the top tier teams in the NFL. I feel like the Bills should be able to score some points and run the ball. What's your thoughts here? Kind of preview how you think the Bills are going to come out offensively.
Get back to doing what you do best, right? Let's not get too cute. Let's work off and compound on the things that we do best, right? The Buffalo Bills and the Atlanta Falcons, so to speak, they both run the ball a lot. They're both 1 and 2 in rushing attempts per game. So this might be a 2.5 hour game, the way these teams like rushing the ball. But you want to get back to the identity of running the football. You want to get back to getting James Cook the football. He is the best offensive player that the Buffalo Bills have. So let's get back to the identity of running the football, working the play action off the runs, and getting the ball out in space like the Buffalo Bills and Joe Brady is accustomed to doing. And then once you find successful plays through that, you compound that with working the ball downfield. So I think the Buffalo Bills have to get the identities established first early on in the game and compound their offense after that. And as they can keep their mistakes and turnovers down, that is the most important part. Mistakes and turnovers, eliminate. Let that be a mirage. Let that not be a barometer of what's to come, God forbid, this season for the Buffalo Bills. Let's eliminate the mistakes, the turnovers, get back to identity, and play sound fundamental football and execute on what we know how to do best.
Yeah, impose your will on that team. You have the offensive line to do it. And what's funny is, not funny, but the two worst games James Cook has had on the ground are the Ravens game and the Patriots game. Two games that the Bills, one they did lose, and the second they could have lost. Obviously, the first game against the Ravens, they had to pass all the fourth quarter because they were behind. But to me, it's do what makes your offense, like you said, do what makes your offense successful. Run the football. And I don't care. I will never care if Josh Allen has 105 yards passing if the Bills are winning, because that means he's getting support. That means he's not putting a cape on, running all over the place, trying to hurdle people, doing tush pushes, all this stuff. Let other guys help on this offense. And I feel like this could be a game, like you said, both teams run the ball well. I feel like the Bills get back to basics. Don't get cute. Do things that work. High percentage plays. I don't care if it's 6, 7, 8-yard dink and dunks when you want to pass, but run the ball, control the clock, and push this team around, because I feel like the Bills offensive line should be able to do that. I don't like when it feels uncomfortable to watch the offense. And I feel like the Bills offensively, yes, they scored a bunch of points against the Ravens, and they scored 30 points in every game but this last game. But I feel like there has not been, from beginning to end, first, second, third, fourth quarter, there's not been a Bills offensive game that looks like it's been in sync. Now I understand defenses make adjustments and there's going to be times when they're going to have to punt and things like that. But I just feel like there hasn't been a game when it just feels like things are clicking consistently throughout the game. I feel like, okay, maybe we get a good opening scoring drive, but then we go a couple drives that just look bad, disjointed. Then we come out in the second half and we're on fire, and then it seems like we can't get out of our own way. Or the Bills score early, then in the middle part of the game, they're just kind of lackadaisical and stupid penalties and weird play calls. And then the fourth quarter, when they need to turn it on, they turn it on. So to me, that's what I want. Just play a complete game offensively. Run the ball, eliminate plays that would allow for mistakes, stuff like that. So, all right, what about defensively? What do you think the Bills need to do defensively to shut down not just the run game, but shut down Michael Penix? He only has 4 total touchdowns in going into week 6. So it's not like he's going to come out here and just light the world on fire. And I've seen it all over social media. We don't want this to be a game where he looks like the next coming of, Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady. We need to control what the Bills should be able to control. So what's your thoughts defensively on what the Bills need to do to be successful on Monday night?
I don't think Drake May lit the world on fire against the Buffalo Bills. He just made 2 outstanding plays, and then he was a great game manager throughout the course of the game, right. and other things was able to open up and expose the Buffalo Bills team. And I think we've seen little tidbits of that from the lesser teams like Miami and the Saints, but they just wasn't good enough to get over that hump. This Buffalo Bills team, this defense, in terms of, you spoke about Michael Penix and him having only 4 touchdowns. It's about taking away his bread and butter, taking away what makes everything easy for him. And if we could take it away, I think the Buffalo Bills can have success. But with the defensive metrics of the Buffalo Bills, it could be a tall task, and that's Bijan Robinson. Bijan Robinson is not only a great runner, he's a great receiver out the backfield. He's on pace for almost 2,500 scrimmage yards. He's had over 110 scrimmage yards in all 4 games he played this season. And I think I have my brother I was talking to earlier today. He's taking the over on 200 scrimmage yards for Bijan Robinson, and I can't blame him. I can't blame him.
Don't say that.
Right, but that's where it starts. It starts with the Buffalo Bills stopping Bijan Robinson in the run game, and then it stops all that, and then you have to stop the check down game as well. We don't want those screen passes to turn into 20, 25-yard, 30-yard gains. Right. We don't want those check down passes to become 20, 30-yard gains. And with the susceptibility on defense the Buffalo Bills have, combined with the strengths of the Atlanta Falcons on offense, it definitely poses causes for concern. So number 1 priority for the Buffalo Bills, in my opinion, in terms of players to key on, it's that guy, Bijan Robinson.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, you said everything. It's just we have to see it. I mean, there's been times when I feel like saying we need to stop the run is just, we shouldn't even say it anymore, because it's something that for 7 years now, 8 years now, 9 years now, it's been an issue. And I don't think Penix is going to beat you with his arm. And especially if you have a lead, I don't think he's going to be able to beat you with his arm. That's just me. I mean, I just haven't seen that much excitement in arm talent from him. So I don't know. We'll see. He's a left-handed quarterback, which is weird. I was watching film on him too. The ball just comes out weird. It's got to be hard as a wide receiver. So, but you brought up a good point there, and this is kind of off script too. You brought up a good point about getting him the ball in space, including him in the passing game and those screen passes. And this is kind of a twofold thing. I don't understand why we're not involving James Cook in the pass game more. I think he's got 12 targets, something like he's around there. Why are we not getting him? We see what happens when he gets in space. He can make guys miss. He's hard to tackle, and his field vision is incredible. So why do you think that they're not just dialing up things for James Cook to get 5 to 7 targets per game? Because to me, he's the second best offensive player. You could say what you want about Spencer Brown and Deion Dawkins, fine. But to me, as far as skill position players, James Cook is the second best offensive player on this team. And why not put the ball in your second best, who you just paid, by the way, second best playmaker's hands and let him get some yards and stuff like that? What's your thoughts on that?
I agree 100%. I wish I had the answer, because you want to utilize your best weapons. And James Cook is not only the best weapon for the Buffalo Bills as a runner, but he's one of the best and very effective out the backfield as well. Once he get the ball in his hands, he is very dynamic. So I would love for Joe Brady to incorporate him more in the pass game. I would also love for Joe Brady to incorporate multiple backs on the field at the same time, just to show the defense and give the defense a different look and different proponents to our offense that they're gonna have to account for. So hopefully the things like this can open up within the offense and Joe Brady and James Cook and the rest of the Buffalo Bills receivers. But absolutely, James Cook needs to be the Bijan Robinson in the Buffalo Bills offense, not only between the tackles but through the air as well.
Do you think it's a game by game basis? Obviously, every defense is different. Some defenses are better. Some defenses play zone. Some play man. Some do this, stack the box. Because I bring that up because you talked about all the backs getting involved, and I specifically remember the track meet against the Lions last year when Ty Johnson I think he had over 100 yards receiving in that game, and he was just all over the place being targeted. And you have Ty Johnson. We'll leave Ray Davis out of this for now because I'm not really going to talk much about him in the pass game because we haven't really seen much of it at all. But like it's confusing to me that we don't use, and that's just like a run play. If you throw a 5-yard screen pass, that's basically a run play, right? And it could become a 20-30 yard gain. So I don't know. It's just interesting to me that sometimes it seems like it's there and sometimes it seems like it's not. And again, it could be scheme based and things like that. I saw a comment from Roy Collins. I wanted to ask you, because we've talked about this before. Do you think that Brady has a killer instinct? We've talked about how the game, like against the Dolphins, for instance, like just put your foot on their throat and push the pedal to the metal and just keep going, keep going, keep going. And I feel like that comment is very accurate because we've seen at times like there doesn't seem to be a killer instinct. And I feel like we have the offense that can be, you're just not going to run this track meet with us. You just can't keep up. But we don't do that. We do more of the controlled, high percentage, dink and dunk, death of 50 paper cuts type stuff. What's your thoughts? Does Joe Brady have a killer instinct? Or because we saw the killer instinct against the Ravens when we were down 15 with 7 minutes left. Like he let Josh do that against a really good Ravens team that was 100% healthy at the time. So what's your thoughts?
You have to take a deeper dive to sometimes in terms of what's going on with teams, right? The Baltimore Ravens as a team are in flux. The Baltimore Ravens as a defense is one of the worst defenses in the NFL, and we've seen that. So what the Buffalo Bills did as an offense, is it Joe Brady ability to do that, or was that Josh Allen's ability and the receivers to take ability to take advantage, do basically what is a weakness of the Baltimore Ravens, and indeed make it a weakness? And I think that's what the Buffalo Bills, looking at the games now and looking at the teams now, I think that is what the Buffalo Bills was able to do. So do I think Joe Brady has a killer instinct? No. I think Joe Brady has a structure, has a controlled offense that he likes to run, and it can look as if a killer instinct if you having trouble stopping that offense, right? But I think he's running a control offense where if that defense is making the necessary adjustments and stopping, I think he has some troubles making adjustments to adjust to what the defense is doing to make the offense successful again. And sometimes I believe we're in desperate times, call for desperate measures, and we have to break that emergency glass. And I think Josh Allen starts to make plays on the field more often than the plays are being made because of what the offensive play caller has called, right? So overall, do I think Joe Brady has that killer instinct? No, I don't think he has that killer instinct. I miss the days where we had plays like Gabe Davis against the Pittsburgh Steelers, 99-yard TD reception. I miss plays like divisional game, the 13 seconds game when we was down and Josh Allen was at the 30 and he threw that bomb to Gabe Davis to get us back in the game. I miss the deep pass to Stephon Diggs on Thanksgiving. I miss those type of plays that we're just not seeing from Joe Brady's offense because that's not how he's structured to call plays. So hopefully that can change throughout the course of the season and he can develop some type of downfield game to go along with the identity of the controlled offense to bring more to the offense in terms of complexity as opposed to being predictable on offense.
That brings our show full circle because that ties into why I want the Bills to sign or to trade for A.J. Brown, but I don't think they're going to. Because if you bring in A.J. Brown, is anything changing other than you have a guy that's got good hands, but is that change the killer instinct? Does that change the perception that the fans have of we don't have that guy? And I don't think this offense is set up to have an alpha number one. Do what I want A.J. Brown? Of course I would want A.J. Brown. I'd be crazy to not want A.J. Brown. I wanted DK Metcalf all off season or all up until the league year started, and that obviously didn't happen. But I just don't think that's while Joe Brady's calling plays for the Buffalo Bills, that's going to happen. They're not going to have an alpha guy because just like Brandon Beane said in the offseason on WGR, like we scored 30 points last year. We have guys that everybody eats is fine. They block and they do their job. So anyways, all right, players to watch. Well, we'll do both offense. We'll start with offense and then we'll go into defense. Who do you think on offense? Let's take Josh Allen out of the equation. So on offense for the Bills, who needs to step up for the Bills offense to score points and to get a win on Monday night?
James Cook gotta be featured in the Buffalo Bills offense this week. He's the best offensive
100%.
player. He's the best offensive player for the Bills. I think we got too cute in a way and got away from what we do best. We have to get back and establish our identity on offense, and let's get back to running the football and featuring our dynamic running back James Cook. So that let's start there on offense. Let's feature the best offensive player we have. Get him the ball when it's not in Josh Allen's hands.
I agree with you 100%. Like I said earlier, like run the ball. I think they went away from it just because the game offensively kind of was unstructured. They had the fumble early on. That drive was promising too. Then they had the fumble. Then they had Keon's fumble. They had the interception. Like I feel like they were just disjointed all around. I just want to see some structure and give the ball to James Cook 20 to 25 times, whether it's on the ground or in the air, and let him cook, no pun intended. All right, so on defense, who do you have that needs to step up defensively for the Bills to try to shut down this Falcons offense and get a win on Monday night?
I don't think it's any one player. I'm going to say the defensive front seven. That entire unit has to come to play. You know, we're missing guys. We're missing T.J. Sanders. Ed Oliver's coming back. The linebacker play we've been talking about that has been in question. It's too much yards that are being had between the tackles. It's too much yards being had on third downs when stops need to be made. The front seven has to come to play in a hostile environment against the Atlanta Falcons. This is a team that has a young quarterback. They're going to look to run the ball. They're going to look to get the ball out quick to their running backs. And they're going to look to get the ball out to their best players beyond their running backs, and that's Kyle Pitts and that's Drake London. So let's stop that foundation. Let's stop the run, and I think it starts with our defensive front seven.
This guy stole my thunder. Thanks, Ernest. I understand he's coming back from injury, but show me that week one was not just an outlier. Show me that you're going to go back to the 2023 version of Ed Oliver. The one that had 9.5 sacks, the one that was a menace all over the field. That's what I want to see from Ed Oliver. I want to see stability up front, like you said. I want to see somebody that's going to push that pocket and make it uncomfortable for Michael Penix. And we've been saying now, I feel like every week, that Sean McDermott has been going up against a young quarterback. And in the past, he's had great success. For the last 3 weeks, last 2 weeks, including Spencer Rattler and Drake May, he's made those guys look like they could do whatever they want. So let's get back to that mentality that Sean McDermott knows how to handle young, inexperienced quarterbacks. Because if you shut down Bijan Robinson, who else is there? Honestly, they have Drake London and they have Kyle Pitts, but
it starts with Bijan.
It starts with Bijan. It has to start and end with Bijan. If we can shut down the run game and make them one-dimensional, I think Ed Oliver is the guy where it starts with. Show some fire. I mean, he put a post out on Instagram that he's going to put belt to ass. So maybe that's the spark that this defense needs. Maybe it feels a little bit more whole with him out there, but let's see what he's got. All right, let's do hot takes. You got a hot take? One hot take from this game Monday night.
Christian Benford records an interception.
That's a hot take.
Yes, the way he's been playing, he's been struggling. He's been struggling a little bit more than I'm accustomed to seeing or liking. Right, I think Christian Benford right now. We've been talking about a number 2 cornerback, but Christian Benford has been struggling as a number 1, and he seems like he's been playing like a number 2 and disguised as a number 1 because of the team he's on. So I need to see Christian Benford. He just got that lucrative contract. He needs to start playing like that shutdown defensive corner that we signed this offseason. And hopefully he could put some of that on display this week and play his best game of the season. So hot take, Christian Benford, his first or second interception for the season. I'm not sure if he had one earlier this year.
I have to go back and look. I don't think he does.
I don't think so. First interception this year.
Yeah, can we see him on Drake London instead of Tre'Davious White and Drake London, please? That's it for that. Hot take for me, and this is going to be weird. You're gonna not think that I'm speaking through myself. Greg Rousseau has 2 sacks Monday night.
Okay, hot take.
I feel like he got something going on Sunday a little bit. I feel like he's one of those guys that likes to collect them. He's a sack collector in bunches. So I feel like this might be a game where we get a nice Greg Rousseau game. I feel like I've been waiting for him to break out and get one of those games, but I just have a feeling watching the all 22 on him this week. He played pretty good against the Patriots. He did have a sack, and I feel like this might be a game where he has a couple sacks, and that's my hot take. He has 2 sacks. So
I like it. All
right, for everybody watching, thank you. It's been an hour and a half of Akeem and myself. A lot of ranting, a lot of bitching, a lot of complaining, but a lot of positive conversation was had, because I feel like as Bills fans, some things are frustrating. Yes, the team's 4-1, but I think these conversations need to be had. So if you haven't smashed the like yet, smash the like. If you're watching YouTube, please subscribe. Share this wherever you guys are. If you're watching it afterwards, I appreciate that you've made it all the way here. Please like the video, drop some comments. And Monday night, prime time again for the Bills. Oh, by the way, the Bills are 15-4 after a loss since 2021. Just putting that out there. I feel like the stats that we've all been accumulating from the seasons past into this season, I feel like they're all going away now because of how some of the things have turned out. But we'll see what happens. I'm pretty positive. Oh, let's do score predictions before we get out of here. Akeem, what's your final score prediction for Monday night's game?
Bills over Falcons 27-21. Bills over Falcons.
Yeah, I have the Bills getting back to 30 points here. I got 30-17. It's probably closer than that, but I feel like the Bills will do enough to make it a comfortable 2-score win. So I got the Bills 30 and the Falcons 17, and the Bills go down to the ATL and get a dub. All right, Akeem, you want to take us out of here?
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate everybody for tuning in to the Bills and Buffalo broadcast. This has been Billsology with myself, Akeem Richens, Dave Myers on the other side. Excellent job hosting today. We appreciate everybody for staying with us with our dialogue, right? This was a lot of intense, interesting discussions about the Buffalo Bills, and there was a lot of tough conversations, and there was a lot of good conversations. At the end of the day, we want to see our team go hoist that Lombardi trophy and hopefully win the Super Bowl, represent our AFC team. So no hard feelings to how we critique our Buffalo Bills team. We all have one goal. We just want to get there. So till next time, Rich, Akeem Richens, DM3, Dave Myers, this has been Billsology. Ladies and gentlemen, go Bills.
Go Bills.
Let them people know it's time for the show.